Hello people of the interwebs and surrounding universes. It's your host here, Emily B, back with another video. If you enjoy the video, please give it a like and comment down below your opinions. Let's start a discussion on this topic because I know it's going to be pretty controversial. And last but not least, if you like what you see and you want to see my face again, then go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post. Now with all of those formalities out of the way, let's get into the video. Today we are going to be talking about the right to die. Basically, the right to die is the idea that terminally ill patients should be allowed the right to euthanize themselves. So that is kind of the baseline of what that is. A Frenchman with an incurable illness who unsuccessfully lobbied President Emmanuel Macron to allow him to die by active medical assistance says he's planning to live stream his own death on Facebook. Alan Coke, 57, from Dijon in eastern France, has a rare, incurable medical condition that causes his arteries to stick together. He estimates he will only have days to live after stopping all medication, food, and drink, which he plans to do Friday, 11 p.m. Now, the day that I screenshotted this article was September 6th, so that Friday would have been a few days later. Euthanasia is illegal in France. French law also dictates that deep and continuous sedation, which can hasten a person's death and render them unconscious until they die, is not legal unless under specific circumstances. Set out by the 2016, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this law, which also requires a person's death to be imminent. But French citizens do have the right to stop medical care, and under French law, there is no prosecution for suicide. So let's break down that first part of the article. This man, Alan, he's 57 and he has an incurable terminal illness that's where his arteries stick together, which I can imagine is horribly painful for him to experience. But nonetheless, it is going to lead to his ultimate demise. That will be the reason he passes away. And in France, according to this article and other articles that I've read to kind of fact check this one, it is illegal for people to have medically assisted suicide, meaning a doctor can't inject you with some sort of euthanasia drug and aid you in your own death. You cannot have assistance in dying. And it also goes further to say that deep and continuous sedation, such as the use of morphine, high doses of pain medications to sedate you and put you out of your misery, basically, until your body naturally runs its course, that is also illegal, which I found very interesting because even though in America we're not progressive as far as euthanasia goes with terminally ill patients, we haven't really begun to have that conversation as far as I know in the scope of America. But in American hospitals and nursing homes, if someone is on hospice care or comfort care, they can choose to be given high doses of pain medication and anxiety medications to basically make their last days as comfortable as possible. Coming from someone who does work in the medical field, the reality of that is when you give someone high doses of morphine, which is usually the drug that they use for comfort care and hospice patients because it's the most effective for people in those states, high doses of morphine can cause respiratory distress in a patient and ultimately hasten their death. And I understand that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something that is chosen by the patient or the patient's family, whoever is in charge of the patient, whether that be the patient themselves or a spokesperson for the patient, that is always a choice. Someone doesn't even have to have those drugs. Plenty of patients who denied any sort of pain medication in their last days because they wanted to die naturally. And that's 100% understandable. It's whatever the person wants. It's never forced. It's never maniacal. It's never a plot to hasten a person's death. It's all a choice. In my mind, I see France as a more liberal, more open-minded country than America, or at least that's how I see it in the media and my small-minded perception of it. So for them to not allow people to have things like morphine and Ativan and heavier drugs by choice to make their death a lot more painless, that surprises me. And it says these things are only illegal unless under specific circumstances. And I'm also wondering what these specific circumstances are, because this man, Alan, he has a terminal illness. He's going to die from it eventually, and it seems to be very, very painful for him. I mean, it's made him bedbound. I'm wondering what these specific circumstances are that would allow someone to get this sort of treatment in a very painful time of their life. Like, what would it take for them to be able to get that kind of care? That's just my question. If someone is already bedbound, in constant pain, has to be washed by someone, has to be fed by someone, how much worse could it get to where it would merit getting that kind of care? But it says that French citizens do have the right to stop medical care. That is unfortunately the choice that Mr. Allen chose to make, because he was tired of not having his wishes respected to have a quicker passing. The article goes on to say, Koch, who is confined to a wheelchair and founded an organization to improve the lives of disabled people, wrote a letter to Macron, the French president, dated July 20th, asking the president to allow him to die with dignity, quote, describing his extremely violent suffering. I would like to make it clear to you that on this day, I find myself in a situation of having unsound mind, confined in a dysfunctional body, crippled by suffering, he wrote in the letter. Would you withstand, Mr. President, having your intestines emptied into a pouch, having your bladder emptied into a pouch, and that you are fed by a pouch, that a third party must bathe you, to be crippled by unbearable pain? Koch wrote in the letter. Koch urged Macron to review French laws that prevent healthcare professionals from hastening the deaths of their dying patients with medicine. Quote, I simply ask to leave with dignity, with active medical assistance, which my dysfunctional body prevents me from doing so, surrounded by my family and friends, he wrote. Some use the term active euthanasia or assisted suicide, but for me, the term most suitable is end of life with dignity with active medical assistance, he wrote. From what he said, I 100% agree. Mr. Koch isn't trying to persuade the French president to automatically say, yeah, euthanasia, assisted suicide, that's totally fine, because that is a big deal. Not many countries have undergone that process of legalizing that, and I'm not sure many will, because it is a big moral discussion. But the idea of allowing a patient who is of sound mind to hasten their death through medical assistance using different forms of drugs and medication, and ultimately making their passing more comfortable, I don't see why anyone would want to deny someone that. Personally, I don't understand the logic, so I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it. I don't think he's asking for too much here. I think he's just asking to have a comfortable and dignified death. Writing in response, President Macron said he was moved by Koch's letter and admired the remarkable willpower he had shown in fighting incessant battles with the illness. However, he said he could not comply with the request because he is not situated above the law and could not ask someone to overstep our present legal framework. In an interview with CNN, he said that he expected Macron would not be able to comply with his request, but that he appreciated the compassion that he had shown him in his letter. Of the decision to stream his death via video, which will be on mute, he added, I am not doing this for voyeurism. I want to inform people about something we all know but refuse to talk about. Pain. I chose to show this pain, he said. The basis of a democracy is that citizens have a free choice. Death should be democratic. Alan's original idea, after the president denied his request to have active medical assistance in his death, his idea was to showcase his suffering and broadcast his last dying moments and dying days on a live stream on Facebook. Do I think that's appropriate? No. Personally, I do not. I don't think that's safe for public viewing, and I don't think it's something that people should just be able to come across. That is putting people who may not be consenting to see someone die in the position to possibly see someone die on accident, and that would be horrifically traumatizing to some people. I understand his original thought of wanting to showcase his pain and showcase his death to possibly further the conversation about medical assistance in dying, about comfort care, about hospice. I think he's made his point without broadcasting his death live to thousands of people. A spokesperson for the US tech giant told the agency, France Press news agency, that its rules forbid any users from portraying suicide. Although we respect his decision to want to draw attention to this complex question, following expert advice, we have taken measures to prevent the live broadcast on Allen's account, the spokesperson said. Our rules do not allow us to show suicide attempts. Koch, who hails from Dijon, eastern France, wrote on his Facebook page that the move was unfair discrimination that hinders freedom of expression. Whether his intentions are pure or not, if he had followed through with something like this, he could be victimizing someone without trying to. So it turns out that after this whole initial media storm about his decision to live stream his death, Allen decided that he would start receiving medical assistance again. He would start eating, drinking, and receiving his normal medications again. He is getting a home health setup, which is basically medical assistance within the confines of your own house. And he will live out the rest of his days in his own home under medical assistance, but not necessarily the type that he would want, unfortunately. There's so many questions and so many non-answerable things. Like, it's literally a case-by-case basis. There's no way to pinpoint the one right answer, and that's why it hasn't been legalized everywhere. And that's why it's not a big conversation in the governments of the world, because a lot of places simply just don't want to cross that road. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. The morality discussion also has to go into the comfort care and hospice system, because although I think it is very wonderful that these people can get pain and anxiety medications to allow them to be blissfully unaware of their body's deterioration, it also falls under the same lines. Like, is it right? Is it right? Personally, I think it is, because it's the patient's choice, or it's the patient's closest confidant's choice who has power of attorney over them. Some of you or some other people may disagree, and they may say that that is also murderous. It's also immoral because you're aiding someone in their death when it could just naturally take its course. And obviously I have my opinions on the subject, but I am 100% open-minded to other people's thoughts and a discussion on this topic. So let's have an intelligent discussion in the comments. What do you think about this story? About Allen's plea for medically assisted suicide? What do you think about medically assisted suicide? Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a like, comment everything you want to comment down below, and until next time guys, much love.